Well, when I say spring cleaning, you think inside, right? What about outside? The harsh winter weather can obviously leave behind some damage once all the snow melts away. So here with tips on getting your home ready for spring is reno and building expert Ryan Thompson. Great to have you back on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so what are the biggest issues that you usually see when it comes to springtime?
So there's a couple. One of the big ones is when people turn back on their exterior hose bibs, sometimes there can be some explosions that maybe have happened, but we didn't know, some freeze cracks. So one of the things I always like to recommend is that people turn it on and take a look. One of the problems that happens with hose bibs, and when you're looking at kind of your traditional hose bib, is that they're not frost-free. So right where this ends here is the exterior of your house, and if you have any water buildup in there, it's gonna freeze, you won't know it, even if you shut it off further down the line, right? So what I always recommend to people, check on that, and if you do need a new hose bib, I recommend something that's what's called a frost-free hose bib.
That's totally different.
So you can see how long this stem is, right? So what happens is when you shut it off, you're shutting it off back here inside of your home, inside of where it's still warm, so you're not gonna be susceptible to the freezing of your traditional hose bib.
Is there a big price difference between those two things?
There is, but especially with this type of hose bib, you don't have other components that like this where they twist and wear out, right? These ones, it's a twist function, it uses water pressure, so it's gonna give you it's gonna last a lifetime, right? So it is worth it.
Okay, we know that concrete or asphalt can crack in the wintertime. I like to call spring pothole season for this very thing. So how do we deal with that within our own homes or with like the outside exterior of our property?
Yeah, so one of the things you can do is fill whatever cracks you have, because like you mentioned, over time, water gets in, freezes, thaws, those cracks will become bigger. So what I'm gonna show is just basically a concrete version.
Okay.
The process for asphalt is kind of similar, just to be a different product they use, but you wanna make sure that any cracks that you're gonna fill, they're just clear of any debris.
Okay.
Right, so that's gonna be kind of the first step. Maybe you need to shop vac to vacuum out some of the buildup. And then there's a couple of different options. So one of them is a crack filler. And you literally just shake it. It's like a sand. Like this. You just shake it out like this. You're gonna wanna have a tool, a brush, something to kind of level it off.
Okay.
So you level it off, just like that. You can see it's nice and smooth. And then we just spray with some water.
Okay.
Light misting, nothing too crazy. So that's one option. Another one is, hopefully you can help me with this.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm nervous. Okay, I'm doing this, okay.
Yeah, you're just gonna squeeze here.
Okay.
And so if you wanna go into one of these other cracks, you're just gonna—
just right along here?
Yeah, you're just gonna—
Is that way too much? Oh my God, it's going on its own.
It is, right?
So that's a lot.
That's a lot,
Okay,
but just like how we smoothed it out, it's not a big deal at all.
Are you sure?
Right?
I feel like
it's not a big deal at all. We can just come the same way, smooth it out, just like that.
Okay, or you do it properly and you don't have so much work afterwards, right?
But that will happen sometimes, right? So it's good that people don't panic. There's a solution, you smooth it out. Ultimately, we're solving the problem.
Okay, I like that you said don't panic, like don't do what I just did there. Anyway, that is my whole life, people. I'm always panicking. Let's talk shingles, lifted shingles. You see them a lot. Like I feel like you walk around the neighborhood and you're seeing the damage on people's roofs. Why is that specifically a problem? So
it's a problem because when you have lifted shingles, water can get up underneath it and then create problems, leaks into your home. And especially this time of year, sometimes shingles actually blow right off if it's, the weather, bad storm, or ice damming that we've talked about before. Those can kind of warp the shingles. And what happens with shingles is once they do kind of start to get lifted, they very rarely go back down. So sometimes it's not a lift that's very high, like they're not sticking up at a 90, but a slight lift to them, even something like this, you may not be able to see it from the ground, but it can cause problems. So a tool that I have and maybe some kids in the neighborhood have is a drone. So it's always a good idea to send up a drone or do a visual inspection from the ground. Sometimes you can see as well, but it's just important that people take a look, especially this time of year. Okay. What do we need to know when it comes to downspouts and preventing leaks? So downspouts, the most important thing with downspouts is if you have a downspout, it should be extended 6 feet away from your home. Okay. Right? You don't want it right up against your home. You can see here we have an example of a downspout that's kind of right up against the foundation, and you can see some settling, right? Because when the water comes out, it's path of least resistance, right? So in a situation, you want to have that extend a little bit further from the home, and you also want to build up that soil there. So you can see that soil is kind of dropped. You want to build up that soil so that it slopes away from the home and not towards the home. because that's actually one of the #1 causes of basement leaks is improper grading, we call it, towards the home.
And then everything's going that way.
Yeah.
Gravity works
Exactly.
not in our favor. Ryan, thank you so much. These are great tips.
Thanks for having me.